If there's one message The Expanse Season 5 left us with, it's that we're stronger together.
This is how we win.
This is The Takeaway, brought to you by The Take, where we break down the endings of your favorite films and TV shows to get at the deeper meanings and messages they leave us with. In this episode, we're explaining the finale of The Expanse, Season 5. The season was defined by themes of isolation, separateness, tribalism, and extremist conflict, which made it feel like an eerily relevant mirror of contemporary problems in our world.
Amos says that humans are tribal. That when things get bad, the tribe shrinks.
And amidst all the turbulence, we saw a competition between two ways of life. Is the purpose of our existence to be true to a cause, no matter the cost?
The future of humanity is ours.
Or to put the people you love first, using your chosen family as a compass?
I will love you and Amos and Alex for as long as I love anything.
This season explored what happens when you fragment and divide people, most poignantly by separating our heroes for the majority of the screen time. The crew of the Rocinante split up to embark on different missions, pining for each other's company and not even being able to reliably communicate with each other.
If you hear this, please respond.
Their survival, and arguably all of humanity's survival, rely on whether they're able to come back together and save each other.
You want my help fixing that ship? We don't leave anyone behind who wants to come.
So what does sticking together mean in a world that keeps pulling people apart? Here's the takeaway for The Expanse, Season 5. In the Season 5 finale, our chosen family shares a bittersweet reunion. One of their crew is gone after Alex dies of a stroke from heartburn acceleration while he and Bobby are rescuing Naomi. The remaining Rossi crew members congregate with Avasarala and other officials, and the reinstated Secretary General marvels at the scene of hard-won togetherness, built on alliances between Earthers, Martians, and Belters.
This is what Marco Inaros hates. This is what he is afraid of.
But very soon, a new crisis breaks the Rossi crew apart, foreshadowing still bigger challenges ahead.
There's been another attack at the ring.
We learn that a fleet of MCRN ships defected to aid Marco's Free Navy,
An entire fleet of Martians gone rogue, in league with Inaros.
who bought their help with the last remaining proto-molecule sample. We cut to Admiral Sauveterre and Lieutenant Babbage on the Barkeith talking of the new, purer civilization their rogue MCRN faction will build on Laconia.
We have to be more pure now than Mars ever was. One mind, one cause.
While all season it seemed like Marco's terrorism was the greatest threat facing the Sol system, evidently a much bigger plan was in motion.
Why would Martians take proto-molecule through the ring after what it did on Ilus?
Maybe they know something we don't.
Which will shift the order of the universe.
You understand that what we're doing changes things.
Sauveterre receives a message from the scientist Cortazar that the proto-molecule arrived on Laconia, alluding to all the technological feats that will be possible for this new civilization.
This is to confirm that the sample arrived safely. We are already seeing beautiful results.
But just as the Barkeith passes through Laconia Ring, everything freezes, and the crew is wiped out before our eyes. So, what just happened? While passing through a ring usually goes smoothly, the disappearance is similar to the phenomena that Elvia Koye experiences when she falls through the artifact on Ilus.
We sent small mammals through it. The passage rendered all of them catatonic or dead. I believe what I saw inside may only be visible to human perception in ways we don't understand.
This unusual effect seems to be caused by the unknown aggressors who wiped out the ancient civilization that created the proto-molecule.
These entities created the artifact and destroyed the proto-molecule builders, wiped out their whole civilization in an instant. And now we're using their rings.
Moreover, Holden thinks that humanity's increased use of the rings is getting these aggressors' attention.
Every time I pass through a ring, for a moment, and each time I see them, they seem angrier. I think we're waking them up.
Nemesis Games, the fifth book in the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, the pen name of authors Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank, also ends with this scene of Sauveterre's death. Here's how Sauveterre's point of view is described in the book. He could see the molecules in the air, obscuring some profound space between them, a vacuum that penetrated them all. Just before Sauveterre dies, he sees, quote, some other thing, some third side of that coin, passing through the spaces between the spaces. The suggestion that the unknown aggressors are the greatest threat to the future of humanity circles back to the Expanse's long-standing theme that human beings will constantly squabble over smaller internal divisions instead of recognizing when they have a bigger common enemy they need to be fighting together.
The hardest part of this game is figuring out who the enemy really is.
Earlier in the 5th season, we heard Sauveterre discussing the ideas of Xerxes.
Great things are achieved by embracing great dangers.
In the end, Sauveterre does pull off something great, but so dangerous it costs him his life, and may be helping to unleash apocalyptic dangers on all humankind.
These things are a threat to us.
His philosophy of leaping before you look and not worrying about what precious things could be lost in the pursuit of grand progress.
It is nobler to have courage as we stumble into half the things we fear than to analyze every possible obstacle and begin nothing.
Is directly opposed to the value system of the Rossi family, who would never unnecessarily endanger human life. The final scene's imagery reinforces that with bold ventures comes great unknown peril, and all possible progress might not be worth the human cost. Every major character in The Expanse is affected by some kind of division or isolation in Season 5, but this is especially true of Naomi. At the beginning of the season, she separates from her surrogate family, hoping to make amends with Philip, her son with Marco.
You left and discarded me like a piece of trash.
After Philip and Marco imprison her, she becomes the most isolated character we see on screen, spending several episodes either locked away or completely alone. Naomi's devotion to her friends motivates her to power through excruciating pain. She takes 2 huge leaps this season, literally and metaphorically, to protect her Rossi family. First, she jumps out of Marco's ship, floating unprotected through space to reach a rigged ship that's broadcasting a phony distress beacon in her voice. She later jumps out of that ship into open space so she can signal her friends not to fall into Marco's trap. Her plot, culminating in her rescue, illustrates that pushing ourselves to help others ultimately can save ourselves. The physical agony Naomi feels in the season also literalizes the mental strife she felt over having to extricate herself from Marco's organization and their son as their ideals diverged. Naomi symbolically acts out the show's divide between the 2 life paths it presents in her 2 major romantic partners. Her ex, Marco, stands for didactically living for a cause.
Guys with causes that get people killed.
While Holden stands for protecting the people you love, and by extension, people in general.
Whoever did this, they could be coming for you next.
Marco's way might sound noble in theory, but most of the causes in this story are characterized by bloodshed.
You must always have a knife in the darkness.
And ego.
I made this happen.
Marco sacrifices many others for his mission, while the Rossi crew's way is always to sacrifice themselves for each other.
Making a choice to hold your ground to save your family. As far as last stands go, that's the one I'd pick.
Most painful for Naomi is that her son, Philip, chooses Marco's way.
You tried to make me weak. Tried to poison me against my real family. You are everything I am not.
He represents a younger generation that may not yet see the value of nourishing close personal relationships over abstractions. Yet, like Alex, who fails to reconnect with his wife and child this season, Naomi has to accept that sometimes our ultimate home isn't with our biological or nuclear family, but in another deeper bond we form with the people we find out there in space.
Families change, can be hard and sad, but we bear it, as long as we don't shut ourselves off from the new, wonderful things that come.
Holden embodies the "we gotta stick together" value system to his core. He seemingly never has to think twice before doing whatever's best for his Rossi family.
All we can do is get there as fast as we can.
It's possible to argue that beyond doing what he thinks is right, Holden doesn't have a specific political ideology. Does his heroism mean anything if it's not in service of a greater purpose? Ultimately, though, Holden's drive to protect his family, which happens to include members of all the Sol System's main groups, Inners, Martians, and Belters, serves as a bridge to preserving all humanity.
I think we should do whatever we can to make sure we're not the second galaxy-spanning civilization it wipes out.
Arguably, the desire to help people in general has to be grounded in tangible, specific feeling for individuals.
He deserved to finish what he was building.
In this complicated world full of double crosses, nefarious motives, and ever-shifting loyalties, Holden's family-first principle gives him a moral constant that he can return to.
Take what we had and build on it.
That's exactly what happens in Season 5. He breaks from his core crew, attempting to do the right thing for the greatest number of people, and then comes back to his self-selected family, reinvigorated by his love for them. Amos's storyline this season explores themes of tribalism and division, and whether people can overcome their instincts to turn on each other in a crisis.
I need to get back to my crew.
When Earth is hit by the asteroid controlled by Marco, Amos and Clarissa, a woman he once advocated killing on the spot, must come together to make their way through a desolate, devastated landscape. This is where Amos brings up tribalism.
The thing about civilization is it keeps you civil. Get rid of one, you can't count on the other.
Drawing on his upbringing, he explains how people become willing to harm each other for gain as society breaks down.
People are tribal. The more settled things are, the bigger the tribes can be. Churn comes and the tribes get small again.
Later, Clarissa amends this analysis.
And he's right, but he's also wrong.
To add that they should include more people in their tribe, even if those people don't have an obvious value.
If we decided to include everyone in our tribe without demanding that they prove we need them, maybe people wouldn't have thrown rocks at us in the first place.
Working together is inherently better than facing a harsh world alone or in endless small factions.
Right now, you and I are a tribe of two.
Better than one.
The way that Amos and Clarissa are unexpectedly thrust into a brand new set of circumstances for Earth may remind some viewers of the events that struck our Earth in 2020.
I can taste again. I can smell again.
As the COVID-19 pandemic swept the globe in 2020, people isolated in quarantine while increasing tribalism in the U.S. political landscape was reflected in divisions over how much sacrifice we could expect individuals to make for the greater good.
So the person wearing the mask isn't really protecting themselves, they're protecting the people around them.
Amos and Clarissa's storyline suggests that the way to get through the challenges of isolation is to band together in the solidarity of helping each other.
If we hadn't teamed up with you guys, we'd be dead now. We were stronger because our tribe grew.
Kamina Drummer's arc in this season, meanwhile, is a reminder of how complicated tribalism can be.
Mako is consolidating support amongst the factions.
Drummer doesn't just face that conflict between serving a cause and protecting those close to you. She also has to decide which loved ones to protect when members of her tribe are fighting each other.
You killed him, and you killed Fred.
They betrayed all Belters to do the Inner's bidding, which you would not.
I'm beginning to regret my decision.
As fiercely as Drummer strives to do right by her people and get them a seat at the table, she has to keep redefining who her people are. In Season 5, she puts aside her personal desire for revenge against Marco, who's responsible for the death of her ally, Ashford, to protect her family.
I can only guess how much Ashford meant to you, but it is not enough to justify pursuing Marco.
But after merging with Marco's Free Navy, her new loyalties are pushed to the brink once she finds out he's trying to destroy both Naomi and the rest of the crew of the Rossi. Any option Drummer chooses will put someone she cares about in danger, so she has to make imperfect decisions based on a combination of personal feeling and ideals. Ultimately, she chooses to go with her conscience and help Naomi and the Rossi crew, sacrificing her relationships and the life of one of her family members.
You knew this would be the cost. There was no other way. At least now, we can choose our own path.
Back in the second season, Alex was obsessed with becoming the best pilot he could be so that he could save every possible life.
You saved Amos. And we lost 25 people because I made that choice. Next time I'm gonna save them all.
run it again.
So it's poetic that he dies piloting toward Naomi, not in a conscious gesture of specific sacrifice, but because of his determination not to let even a single life be lost unnecessarily.
I called him a brave idiot.
There's worse things to be.
This season, while Alex, like the others, is largely separated from his Rossi family, his solidarity with Bobby is emphasized by how often they appear together within the same frame. The show even uses a distinctive split diopter shot, a visual trick that can keep two objects in focus in the foreground and background of a shot, while allowing other objects around them to remain out of focus. It's not a common part of the show's visual vocabulary, so when it's used to focus on both Alex and Bobby's faces at the same time, it stands out to emphasize their mental closeness.
Get your asses somewhere safe and let me know when you do.
This season underscores that Avasarala is above all a survivor.
Ma'am, I heard about your husband. I am truly sorry.
Avasarala has stuck around and stayed in power longer than any other Earth politician, in part because of her sense of self-preservation. But while Avasarala is shameless in her willingness to use any tactics necessary, her cunning, dirty politics is usually in service of peace and unity. In fact, her core values and mission mirror Holden's on a global scale. She wants to keep people together and alive.
If we start murdering innocent Belters, we'll radicalize every Belter who does not support Inoris.
This like-mindedness is underlined when, in the season's final crisis, she turns to Holden immediately.
Come with me and don't make a fuss of it.
And we're seeing Holden become more of an establishment figure this season.
We're an independent ship. We don't fly anyone's flag.
That's right, but this isn't a fight we can stay out of.
But given that the supposedly anti-establishment players are really just trying to build new, more violent establishments where they're on top,
The vacuum, the ring gates, and the ring worlds belong to the belt, to Belters.
And on behalf of Admiral Duarte, I would like to extend our congratulations.
the status quo seems pretty desirable by comparison. The distant universe of the Expanse feels surprisingly close to home, echoing the mood of our contemporary life.
I don't ever remember a time when Earth, Mars, and the Belt weren't fighting.
It's characterized by dystopian elements, which are constantly threatening to slide civilization into a full-fledged apocalypse, though, as of yet, that's been avoided.
With the opening of the alien gates, we are at a crossroads in human history.
Season 5 brings into focus the show's ongoing question of whether society's collapse is inevitable, sped up by extremist violence and the race for ever more advanced weapons.
Technology certainly hasn't changed it. Guns, railguns, nuclear bombs. No weapon ever brings peace.
Or if disaster can be averted through the efforts of people working together for a common good.
Maybe just being people who need help is enough.
Rewards come when the characters stand by each other and fight their way back to some semblance of civilization.
Even though you were gonna kill me then, now we got each other's backs, right? There's no hard feelings.
Of course. We're family now.
It may sound trite, but when it comes to averting an apocalyptic disaster or living through the dystopia before the world may or may not end, all we have is each other.
She's come a long way.
Haven't we all?
So what did you think of The Expanse Season 5? Let us know in the comments and be sure to subscribe to the Amazon Prime Video channel.